Hi guys. Um, I am Kristen Eccles, and I am coming to you to discuss the advantages and the details of cooperative learning through a PowerPoint presentation that I've created and will be posting for my Education 623 class. The name of my PowerPoint is Cooperation in the Class, and it's by me again. Um, Firstly, I do want to apologize for having to do this not in my classroom between snow and my projector not working. I had to seek other alternatives, so I'm doing this at home, and definitely not the way that I wanted to have this presented. But anywho, I'm gonna give you what I have. Okay. The ideal classroom goal. All classroom learning goals should be created to promote healthy competition, individualistic, and cooperative efforts. The actual goal would be for students would be able to work together with others, express healthy competition, as well as work on their own. So it's a combination of putting together competition, cooperation, as well as the student being able to work by themselves. And the combination of these three would ideally yield a successful learning environment, as well as a successful learning by the student. These are other learning strategies that have been used and preferred over cooperative learning. We have elaborative integration, representational imagery, concept mapping, and the keyword method. This is a brief history of learning, and as well as learning which learning was preferred. In the mid 1960s, cooperative learning wasn't deemed as important as competition and individualistic learning. So the students were taught their best fundamentals of how to survive in a dog eat dog world, as well as being able to work independently so they wouldn't have to depend or rely on others for their own personal success. And this is all well and good because, if everybody doesn't have the same learning goals, everybody doesn't think that one thing that the same thing is important overall for their personal life. So I definitely understand that, but I don't agree with it wholly. The importance of student-to-student interaction. How students interact with each other is relatively ignored. So much training is put into ensuring teachers are properly taught how to handle their students and how to interact properly with their students, yet student-to-student interaction that's ignored is just as important. Student-to-student interaction can affect how the students feel about the teacher, other classmates, and the school as a whole. In addition, it can affect the amount of self-esteem each student has. Cooperative learning. So this is basically what my entire PowerPoint is about. And what is cooperative learning? Cooperative learning is the use of small groups where students work together on a given assignment, maximizing each other's understanding and learning success as well as their own personal success. As a teaching strategy, cooperative learning provides students with the opportunity to learn from each other. So, an example would be an assignment given to a group of 3 students, and each student would be responsible for completing one part of each of the assignment. So in all actuality, it would be 3 parts to the assignment. Each student would be responsible and accountable for completing their given portion. The benefits of cooperative learning, which there are several. Research has proven that cooperative learning has assisted in yielding increased on-task behavior by the student, wider circles of friends, positive relationships with others, better attitudes towards their teachers and other educational professionals, increased self-esteem, greater self-motivation. The elements of cooperative learning are positive interdependence, individual and group accountability, interpersonal and small group skills, face-to-face promotive interaction, and group processing. There are several strategies to cooperative learning. Give me 1 second. That are used. The jigsaw method. This is kind of pretty neat, and I love the name of it. This technique allows students to be responsible for a part of the required assignment. The students know their assignment is essential to the final product. By knowing that others are counting on them, ideally the students will be encouraged to provide their best work. And a lot of times, because I use this in my my own classroom, you don't necessarily have to tell the students that that their work, they need them to make sure that their work is at 100%, because they know that in their head, they already know that. So you just want to encourage them without actually telling them that part. This technique has proven to improve student motivation and assist with accurate learning. So as long as the student is prepping for their own, doing their own portion, they're learning, for one, which is the number one goal, but it's also helping them to increase their own self-motivation. Kagan's cooperative learning strategy is another strategy that is under the cooperative learning umbrella. Kagan's learning strategy allows for increased student interaction and communication. An example of Kagan's cooperative learning strategy is the rally coach. In the rally coach, students work in pairs and take turns answering the given questions, and the partner would tell them if they got the answer correct or not. So this is more so for the smaller groups. 2 or 3 could be used, but ideally it's more so is a very, because there's only 2 to 3 people, they ensure that the learning happens for that learning occurs for both or for all 3 parties. Okay, the focus list strategy. This is a brainstorming strategy that allows students to collectively generate words to describe something. Then the students can be placed into small groups, or it can be a whole group discussion to discuss their list that they've come up with for the words. Students compile the list of words, but could possibly include words that everyone wasn't initially familiar with, so the students are ultimately able to increase their vocabulary. Uncommon commonalities. This is another neat strategy. The strategy has a goal of attempting to get the students to become more cohesive. Students are separated into groups and are also allowed to come up with a name for their team, which is always a bright side for them. They should be given a sheet of paper that they fold into 4 sections. Then the teacher can ask questions such as, how many sisters do you have, or how many brothers do you have? And if they have 4 sisters, then they would put their response on that 4th section of the paper. At the end, each group is allotted time to discuss their responses with each other. And actually, this particular strategy helps the students to build their circle of friends, which is one of the advantages that I discussed at the very beginning. the benefits of cooperative learning that was discussed at the very beginning. It helps them determine who they are like, or maybe similar, they may have a similar background with, and it kind of sparks a conversation between the students and possibly start a friendship with them. Also, another thing I liked about this one is that they're able to create names, and that kind of helps the students in the competitive nature. Healthy competition is always a good thing. It's always a benefit with learning. So I think that with them being able to create a name for their team, it kind of helps them increases their motivation and helps in the learning process. Forced debate. This is a communication strategy that allows students to sharpen their critical thinking skills. The teacher will present a question, and those students that agree will move to one side of the classroom, and those that disagree will move to the opposite side of the room. Students are required to learn the information enough to be able to defend while one side is right and the other side is wrong. So it's kind of like one of those things where the students will have to learn the subject enough so that they're able to debate, and ultimately the desire for each side is for their side to win. So they will have to learn the information or learn enough about that topic in order to reach the goal of winning. Okay. The types of cooperative learning. The first one is the formal cooperative learning. In a formal cooperative learning setting, students work in their respective groups for a range of one class period to possibly many weeks in order to successfully complete the given assignments. The teacher's role in this type of cooperative learning is to choose the related objectives, determine the group sizes, and the roles of each of the students, and arrange the materials needed for the assignment. In addition, the teacher must explain the task and cooperative structure. So this is more of a formal learning. This is maybe a I like to think of this type of cooperative learning as a group assignment where the students are working on this particular project for an extended period of time, where the students are able to possibly even have benchmarks where the students have to present their work that they've completed thus far on their projects and on their separate assignments. Continued. Teachers must monitor the student progress to determine if the teacher needs to intervene or provide assistance to the student, which is somewhat like